here for our Week 12 value picks for the Draftkings main slate. And what we do during this video every single week is try to identify the best options to save some salary for main contests this week. Obviously, a little bit less injuries on this main slate than what we're used to seeing. There are quite a few over there for the Thanksgiving slate, which makes building lineups just a little bit easier. But unfortunately, with all of the games in play, not many injury situations to speak of. So we're going to have to dig a little bit more into the player pool than we're used to doing here on the channel. Going to have to play some people that aren't quite as sexy as some of the picks in past weeks. But these guys are still the best projected that we have as of right now. Obviously, injury situations may open up throughout the week, may give us a little bit of the relief that we're looking for. But for now, these are the best 6 options that I have identified. First off, we have Quez Watkins of the Philadelphia Eagles. This whole team is coming in with a lot of positive momentum. Their offense has been clicking of late. They've had the run game working, which they hadn't for the entire year up until a few weeks ago. And now they have the pass game working as well. So Quez Watkins, somebody who's a huge deep play threat. He has a ton of speed, somebody who has an 80, 90-yard touchdown in him pretty much once every few games. So this matchup against the Giants isn't one of the better ones on the slate. You're still dealing with right around a 47-point over-under, give or take half a point either way, depending on what book you're looking at. But Quez Watkins does have that home run play potential, which I love to target, especially on a slate without a ton of value. So I have him projected right now for 10.2 points. We have seen his snap share increase as the season has gone long. Early on, was being used around 15 to 20% of snaps, but is now approaching the 55, even 60% mark over these last few weeks. So even though he hasn't cashed in with that opportunity and turned that into any massive games, just look at those first few weeks. When he had those opportunities, he was able to take advantage of them. And I do think that production is going to regress back to the mean here at some point. And I want to be there for it. Again, he gives you that 80, 90-yard upside. This is somebody who could go give you 100 yards and a touchdown and be a very sneaky play really far down the board. Next up, we have Ty Johnson of the New York Jets, and I never like targeting Jets players. Unfortunately, with that type of offense, with the production that we've seen, it's pretty hard to get any type of a ceiling performance out of just about anybody. But with Michael Carter, usually, as of right now, he's highly questionable, probably siding towards doubtful at this point. Ty Johnson should lead that backfield. You're going to have people like Tevin Coleman that are mixed in, but Ty Johnson should get a bulk of the touches here. And he's somebody who not only produces on the ground, but also gives you plenty of PPR upside as well. He's been used on third downs a majority of the time this year, showing just how much they believe in him as both a blocker and as a receiver out of the backfield. So I like him there at $4,300. The matchup against the Texans also makes it a little bit more palatable. This Texans team, might be the worst team in the NFL. If the Jets aren't the worst team in the NFL, they're battling for that last position as of right now. So that makes this matchup relatively, attractive to target. If they were facing one of the solid teams in the NFL where they were going to get absolutely stomped, we wouldn't want to be targeting running backs or really anybody from this game. But you guys can see a lot of the value picks are from this game just because the prices are low. I mean, they're used to having some pretty bad production. But now that they're getting to face another, relatively shaky squad, they should have some good production here. So I like Ty Johnson there. And that's also why we have Tyrod Taylor there at number 4. He's $5,300. He's also somebody who's relatively cheap for his position. At wide receiver or running back would probably be closer to $3,000, that kind of thing. But Tyrod Taylor also gives you plenty of upside. I have him projected for 19.8 points right now. And last week we saw that upside, obviously gave you those 2 rushing touchdowns, was also very effective through the air. And if he's going to be a dual threat quarterback in only this $5,000 range, he's just going to be drastically mispriced. So I like him here in this matchup against the Jets. We've already talked about how I expect both these offenses to be a little bit more productive this week than they have in the past. I mean, just facing a far inferior squad to what they're used to. I expect this to be a competitive game as well. So a lot of these players, have only been getting 3 quarters of action. When they've gone into the 4th quarter, when they've been getting absolutely stomped, they've gone to the backups. And it's not like they haven't won games. Both of them have won games to this point of the year. But it's at least nice to know that we're likely to have a competitive game and that they're likely to have full usage at the very least. Next up, we have Jared Cook at $3,000 for the LA Chargers. This guy's just perennially underpriced. Somebody who obviously should be closer to $3,800, maybe $4,000, is the starting tight end for one of the best passing offenses in the NFL. And yes, while he's a little bit touchdown dependent, he also scores plenty of touchdowns. He scores in over half of his games. If you take a look back to the beginning of 2019. So I like this matchup against the Broncos. We are expecting it to be, about an average scoring game, right around the 46-point over-under. And in terms of his projection, I have him at 10.4 points, which projects for well over 3x value. And I can count all of the players on this slate on one hand that project for over 3x value, showing you just how bereft of value that we are here. So people like Jared Cook that are underpriced, we're going to have to go to them. They're not the most sexy pick. I mentioned that during the intro. Some of these guys, they're not going to project for 15, 16 fantasy points or anything like that. But if they go out and they catch a touchdown, have a decent day, they could very well hit that type of production. So that's why I like Jared Cook there. Definitely has that touchdown, that red zone type usage. Next up, we have Leviska Chanel Jr., who's also somebody who would never make this list, but with the type of value that we have on the slate, we're going to have to look at these kind of guys. He's a good matchup against the Falcons. He's seen plenty of opportunity over these last 3 or 4 weeks. He's somebody who's getting plenty of touches as a rusher out of the backfield. They're using him in lots of setup screens, and it's because of his yak ability. This guy is almost like a running back playing the wide receiver position, has more of the build of a wide receiver. That's why he's a wide receiver by trade, but very strong, somebody who can break tackles, and overall, just like somebody like a Quez Watkins, he has that deep play threat, right? He can go out there and get you that huge play. The thing with Leviska is that we know he's going to play more snaps, and we also know he's going to get more opportunities. This guy has been targeted, whether it's between rushing the ball or passing the ball, right around 8 times per game. And with the kind of skill set that he has, with that yak ability, with the ability to shed tackles, he's eventually going to have a really good game. We saw a few towards the beginning of the year where he was able to get into the end zone. And if he's going to have a rebound game or have one of those ceiling or spike type performances, it's more than likely against a really bad defense like the Falcons. So I like targeting him here. I'm projected at 12.8 points. Gives you a little bit of a higher floor than some of the other players on this list. A comparable floor would also be Ty Johnson. Again, we know he's going to be the lead back for that team. At the very least, going to get touches, but you're paying for that there at $4,300 and $4,400 respectively. Our number one option is a little bit of an X factor, though. If I told you that Rex Burkhead last week had 18 carries, would you believe me? Well, that was reality, yes. He had 18 carries last week for 40 yards. No targets out of the backfield, which was also just as wacky. Because if you thought if he was going to have any impact on this offense, you'd probably think it was through the air, probably on third down, that kind of thing. But they rushed the absolute living hell out of him last week. And against this Jets team, you'd expect that to continue, especially now that Philip Lindsay was just cut from the team. They completely let him go, showing that they have a ton of confidence behind Burkhead. For whatever reason, they see him as the most optimal back for that offense. At least give him the fact that he's the best blocker out of the running backs that they have there. David Johnson, just an absolute dumpster fire. That guy should not be an NFL player at this point. So Rex Burkhead, perhaps they've identified that problem. They're just going to move to him as the lead back. And if that's the case against this really soft Jets team, somebody that brings a ton of PPR upside to the table, we saw that with the Patriots. We've seen that in years past as well. He's in a very good spot, right? We don't have much value on the slate. This is a relatively good game environment. So I have him projected for 13 fantasy points right now. I do not expect him to get 18 carries, probably closer to like the 10, 11 mark. But I do expect him to put up some PPR production. That is not what we saw last week. I was extremely surprised by that. Again, we'd expect him to be a lot more effective as a wide receiver. So I look forward to that this week. It's a good matchup, and quite frankly, I also think he's going to be relatively overlooked. I don't think anyone in the industry is really talking about Rex Burkhead, but got plenty of usage last week. That's all I've got for my Week 12 value picks. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who you have as your favorite value pick on the slate. Obviously, for me, I think Rex Burkhead is a huge sleeper, but go ahead and let me know who you guys got. And as always, I also appreciate all of your support here on the channel, an absolute ton. If you guys haven't already liked the video, if you haven't already gotten a chance to subscribe to the channel, I highly recommend you guys go ahead and do so. I have plenty of NFL content coming throughout the week, whether it's Fades and Sleepers, which we'll be getting on Friday, whether it's our weekly live stream we do every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I've got you guys completely covered, whether it's for the NFL, the PGA Tour, for the NBA, or even the UFC. I cover all of those sports when it comes to DFS, and of course, all of it is analytics based like you saw here in the video. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe so you guys don't miss any of that. Good luck with all of your lineups for this weekend. Obviously, good luck if you're playing the Thanksgiving slate as well, and have a very happy holiday.